G'day everybody, welcome back to the podcast for another week. Matt Walsh is my name, Jake Michaels is back in the seat, and champion dudders Christian Joly. We're here to talk all things footy for another week. Jake, there's a heap to get to today. We're going to take a peek at the 0-2 teams and see what's gone wrong for them. We're going to touch on Scott Pendlebury's suspension, Justin Longmuir's comments about opening round, and look at the Bulldogs are sourcing their goals and more. There's a lot, as I said, but first of all, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm a little bit tired. Just got back in this morning, so feeling a bit yawny at the moment, but we'll power through.
Something you noticed, please, from round one of footy action.
Well, I want to throw it back to you two sitting either side of me. Carlton supporters, as everyone probably knows by now, as am I. Carlton's win over Richmond on Thursday night.
Yes.
Was that a win for you? Was that a win for the fans, as Michael Voss claimed after the game? Because it didn't feel like it. And I thought that was a really interesting comment from a coach that, in my opinion, is under more pressure than any other in the league going into the season, and certainly right now after losing against Sydney and then only just scraping over the line against the Richmond side that probably is going to be winning too many games this year. And I just thought it was a really interesting comment to say it was a win for the fans.
So you think he's not reading the room right?
I think he's reading the room incredibly poorly. I think the fans were really disappointed with that. And I think most fans would rightly say that it was a really pathetic performance and probably should have lost that game.
Well, one goal after half-time is never good. And to be able to get away with a win, I think, is a positive. But the manner in which it happened, I think, I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's a similar thing.
I said it to my 9-year-old son. I said, he was in bed. He hadn't fallen asleep yet. So I went in after the game. I said, yeah, we won 75-71. He sort of gave a fist bump. I said, nah, 1 goal in 60 minutes. It's not worth celebrating, and just walked out of his room. So I felt a bit the same. It wasn't a complete victory. It made me no happier than the previous week against Sydney. It was the same old story of not showing up in the second half. So I was surprised to hear those comments as well, thinking that's not a complete game of football yet.
We'll keep you on Voss presser watch this year and just see how he starts acting in these press conferences, especially if the pressure starts to ramp up.
Just on that, you mentioned something before we started about a contrast to another coach, and I thought this was really interesting.
Yeah, and someone else brought it up, and it made me think back to Sam Mitchell. Round one last year, Essendon, I think they might have got home by about 20, 30 points, and Hawthorn had won. And he sort of sat down in his press conference afterwards and said that this is not where we need to be. We'll take the 4 points, we'll bank it, it's great, but we don't want to play footy like that. We need to be better. And sort of really spoke to the higher standards that he was looking for, not just happy to get the 4 points, but actually how the game was played wasn't how happy. So I would have thought Voss would be a bit similar, thinking, well, we've just we've been overrun in the second half by Sydney 1 week, and we've almost got run over the exact same way the second week. Yep. Would have thought there's a lot more negatives to take out.
And it's not just those 2 weeks. So we know this has been a theme for certainly the last year or two with the Blues. Interesting couple of weeks coming up. So obviously the bye this week, and then games against Melbourne and North Melbourne, 2 teams that I think most people would have expected Carlton to be ahead of going into the season. But right now, who knows where they are.
Are these games coach killers?
They very well may be. So we will be keeping an eye on everything Carlton related. Games, results, press conferences.
You heard it here first.
Monday morning press conferences.
Christian, something from the weekend of footy that you noticed?
I'll give you 2. One really quick one. Lowest pressure factor we've seen since we've been doing pressure over home and away rounds. So going back to
across a round?
Across a whole round. So going back to 2010, the least amount of pressure put on. So it sort of talks about high scores, more open footy, a lot more, more marks that are taken mean that there's less pressure that can be applied. But yeah, seeing less stoppages and seeing a lot more open footy. So hopefully that's making a lot more fans happier to watch the game. The other one I noticed, we have spoken about this previously on the podcast, shots after the siren. So we've only been tracking the actual siren since 2013. So it's as far back as I could go.
What do you mean? You've only been tracking the siren?
So previously we would just call, if the siren went, we would ignore it and we'd call kick long for a goal and then end the quarter. Now we actually wanted to put in the siren when it sounded to know that for every other set shot kick that happens after the siren, we can actually delineate, was the kick taken before or after the siren was heard?
Yep.
So we can now look at, what kicks were actually taken after the siren had sounded. Sitting there on Saturday night doing the Sydney-Brisbane game, and all 4 quarters ended in a shot after the siren. So that's the first time it's happened. We've seen about 20-odd games with 3 quarters end with a shot, including once in round 23 last year and twice in round 24 last year. Plus, it happened on Sunday in North Port. Also had 3 shots after the siren.
Is there a theme? Something creeping into the game?
Yeah, something that's creeping in. We've seen a lot of threes, but yeah, Brisbane and Sydney finally got the quaddie, if you like.
What constitutes a shot, though? If you're 90 metres out and someone whips around...
It's got to be realistic.
Legitimate shot at goal. So if you kick it and don't make it inside 50, we're not going to give you anything. If it lands 40 out, we're not going to give you anything. Right. So yeah, genuine shots at goal.
I want to know which teams and which players are the best and worst set shot after the siren.
Well, I think the data, the sample size would be so low. Like, who's had the most shots after the siren? I can't imagine.
Put the pressure on
I can't imagine it's many more than sort of 3
as I
or
was saying, seeing the 20-odd games with, as I said, 3, so there's 60 from those 20 games, it wouldn't be as... I think it'd be a fair sample size. I'm sure I can come back next week. I'm sure we'll find someone that's had about 10 or 15 shots after siren.
Let's have a little friendly wager amongst us. What do you think the player that's had the most shots...
The player or the club?
No, player.
Okay.
The player that's had the most shots for goal after any siren...
Well, who's had the most shots at goal overall?
What's that number? How many is that? Is it 5?
Since when? When did you start counting this?
2013.
I would reckon it's like maybe 4 or 5. It's not going to be like 20 shots.
No, I'll go with 10.
I'll go with 10, yeah.
No, I said it first.
I said it before you even asked the question.
There you go. Good stuff. Yeah, we might do some more after the siren stuff. That's fun.
Yeah, we've already given ourselves a lot of homework and we're only about 5 minutes in.
Well, you had sort of half 2, so I'm going to do sort of half of 2 of things I noticed. One of them, I'm going to give credit to Dan Cherney from Code Sports, first of all. He noticed this as well. A yellow footy, 3:15 before the clocks have changed.
Yes.
What's going on? Let's have the red footy on a Sunday afternoon before daylight savings kicks in. That's just ridiculous. Having a yellow footy, the MCG, bathed in sunlight, couldn't believe it. The second one...
Is that from a traditionalist point of view or from you're losing it in the light?
No, what's wrong with the red footy? We've had red
But
footy.
What's wrong with a yellow one? That's where I'm kind of like, does it really matter?
In the bright sunshine, I think. I don't know.
If it's a matter of we can't see it because of it's clashing with the sun or whatever, then okay.
Jake, they've already taken away the centre bounce from us. Just give us something. Give us traditionalist something. Christian Petrarca, 34-3 last week, set a record for his best ever game in terms of rating points. Highest rated game of his career. He backed it up again on Sunday night against the Eagles. At quarter time, it looked like he might break even more records. So he had 7 disposals, 3 goals. Quarter time, mind you. Finished with 23-4, so he took the foot off the pedal a little bit. But his start to the year reminds me of something. I don't know if you remember this, but in 2016, another Gold Coast player, Aaron Hall, started the year extremely well.
I know where you're going, I think.
Brownlow night, he ended up getting 3 votes in round 1, 3 votes in round 2, and 3 votes in round 3, which is the best start to a year in terms of Brownlow points ever. Could Christian Petrarca be threatening his, they never played together, but his fellow ex-Suns record?
I think he certainly could. I mean,
6 votes through 2 games.
I would be surprised if he didn't have 6.
His rating points again were off the charts.
Yeah,
so.
I'm thinking back to Isaac Keaney though, 2 years ago, who didn't obviously get the 9 votes, but I reckon he
had a great start.
Had a great start to the year. So.
Yeah, I think we're seeing it more and more, but yeah, for a Sun. And a little bit of an obscure one as well, Aaron Hall. I think he's become known for that now.
Yeah, the Aaron Hall.
The other one is, could we be on track for very, very early days at the moment, but could we be on track for back-to-back Gold Coast Brownlow medal winners?
But different winners.
And the last time a team has had back-to-back different winners was West Coast in 2004 and 5 with Chris Judd and Ben Cousins. So it doesn't happen too often. And then you could almost say, well, could Noah Anderson win it the next
one? We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. It is only at the end of round 1, but good stuff all the same. Let's get into things. We talked pre-season, Christian, about speed of ball movement, which is one of the new things that Champion Data is able to track with greater accuracy and a bit more live. So we mentioned it the other week that you'd be doing a lot more in this space. I know it's a small sample size, but I think you came to us and sort of said that there is an emerging trend already about how the game is quickening up.
Yeah, so speaking about speed of ball movement and how we looked at it. So last year we just came up with the overall number of how fast you're moving the ball, with 100 being at competition average. So anything above 100 means you were doing it quicker than competition average, and anything below 100 meant you were doing it slower or less aggressive is another way we used it. And it takes into account what speed of ball movement is taking into account. It's taking into account 3 main things. So how long you're actually holding onto the ball. So are you getting rid of it quicker than most teams, or above average, or you're holding onto it and taking ground? The time. That's the time. The distance that the ball's actually travelling through the air. So we wanted to look at teams that probably teams like Hawthorn from a couple of years ago, where their fast ball movement wasn't always directly to goals. It was fast ball movement, 45 sideways and going side to side and switching the ball and sort of doing that fast enough to sort of open up one side of the field to then go forward.
Yep.
So that, just because you're not going towards goal, you could still be moving the ball fast. But that's where we brought into the third sort of dimension of speed of ball movement, which is your distance to goal, which we call aggressiveness this year. So how aggressive you're actually going.
So yes, you might be moving the ball quickly sort of side to side or across the ground, but if your direction, the direct to goal sort of way, is how quickly you're moving towards the goal line in the straightest possible way.
So there's three ways to look at it. A really high aggressive game with low time might mean that you're just grabbing the ball and just hacking it forward. So it might not be clean footy, but you're just going straight for goal as often as you can. So you might see that more in wet games and things like that. But what we've noticed, so I'll start with those three things and looking at, 2026 numbers competition average-wise. The time that people are holding onto the ball is lower than ever. So people are getting rid of their possessions quicker. Only since
Does that include playing on from a mark?
Yep. So, disposing the ball from a mark. So actually going off your line from a mark won't matter until you actually handball or kick it. So players are holding on, ball in hand slightly less than other years. So we're going back to 2019. So we are talking small sample size in terms of previous seasons plus only 2 rounds into this year, 1.5 rounds into this year, really. But the distance that the ball's travelling through the air is at 114. In 2019 to 2022, it was below 100. So the distance to goal was, the distance that the ball was travelling was a lot more handball, a lot more sort of short kicking. Now we're seeing the ball sort of travelling through the air more. And the distance to goal or the aggressiveness is higher than we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But then we sort of can break the game down to set position. So knowing that this is speed of ball movement from all types of possessions, a set position is when you're in control of, you can do whatever you want to do. You can decide to exactly that. You can play on after a mark or you can hold on to it. Whereas in general play, you're probably more susceptible to what the opposition is doing and how much pressure you're under. So set position, gotten faster than ever. So we're seeing more aggressive ball use and less time. Then the third one we've looked at that's a really good judge of speed of ball movement is just looking at your turnover chain. So when you win the ball back from the opposition, are you going fast the other way or are you sort of slowing down and trying to find things? We've never seen the game faster from a turnover. So only 7 years in to speed of ball movement, but it's one of those numbers I think now that coaches can sort of get a value of and compare it to, say, Brisbane, who were one of the quickest moving teams last year, to some of the other teams, that they can sort of play that copycat. It's probably one number to keep an eye on, that teams are going faster, more aggressive and doing it a lot more from turnover. So
is that because teams recognise that if you move the ball quickly from a turnover, the other team's probably going to be on the back foot and they can sort of expose maybe defensive setups if they just move the ball quickly and take a risk here and there?
And it's funny that, it's football's an ever evolving sport. I think we were, and we still, I'll still preach on this podcast that defence wins premiership. But I think clubs were too worried about, okay, we've got to defend. Now clubs are actually coming down and sort of being able to quantify it. When we do have the ball, though, we need to do something pretty special with it. We need to take out the opposition's defence. And the best way to take out the opposition's defence is, moving faster.
So does that correlate with any other stats? Do you find that the kick-handball ratio might be skewing more towards kicking if the actual direct...
More kicks, uncontested marks are up this year. As I just spoke about earlier, lowest pressure factor we've seen any round.
It's not just an early round anomaly.
Before Champion Data time, I sort of made the comment this morning, and it was very off the cuff because we weren't, Champion Data as a company wasn't around in the 90s. It's very 1990s football to me. A lot more one-on-ones, a lot more move the ball forward. We're seeing less throw-ins because of the new rule, but we're also seeing less ball-ups, I think, because they're more likely to pay holding the ball. And
is that a good thing from your point of view?
Aesthetically, yes. The scores are higher. I think the games are a bit more fun to watch. So it is going to lead to... I do think we had the 9 teams that were clearly ahead of the other 9 teams last year.
Yeah.
The golf could get a little bit bigger, but then again, we're seeing North Melbourne, we're seeing Melbourne embrace that style. I know it's only one game. We'll speak about them soon. So the teams that embrace it will move up quicker. But yeah, it's from the small sample size, I'm enjoying footy. It's higher scoring and it's a lot more football because the ball is being kicked and used that way.
Your facial expression tells me you're not as convinced.
Small sample size. I always think that tighter games are better than blowout games, and I know that if you're a better team, more scoring, maybe aesthetically the passages of play look better, but are the contests better? I'm not too sure.
I would generally rather watch a 65 to 62 game than a 140.
Give me 84
than 140 to 60.
Yes.
Just because there's more scoring, I don't think it necessarily means... I just love how we love finals. Everyone loves finals when scoring generally drops. And you can get these like 70-point to 65-point games that are epic games, but it's like that happens during the home and away season. It's like, it's crap, it's a low score.
Well, not that I'm advocating for rolling mauls or
No.
more stoppages and all that, but those are the sort of games where lower ranked teams can stay in the
But I
run
think
and maybe jaggle.
Yeah, and I think the idea that lower scoring just equates to bad game
games.
is
Yeah,
just
I agree with
a
you,
wrong mindset.
But then there's the flip side to it is when those lower teams are playing off head to head in round 11 and 12, and you just see those. There was a few North Melbourne games last year where there was just rolling mauls, and it was two teams that were struggling, and they were both sort of too scared to sort of break the chains and go for it.
No,
the game was
that's
too
a fair
defensive.
point.
So I think just being able to see those young up and coming teams sort of go, okay, we're going to preach offense now rather than try to be so obsessed with defense.
Good stuff.
It could be a good change.
We'll keep an eye on that as the year progresses. We'd also like to keep an eye on. I really want to keep an eye on the stoppage exits that we were talking about a few weeks ago as well. Which direction, whether they go inboard, outboard, back, forward, and how each team likes to do its stoppages. So remind me to do that another time. Jake, 2 teams, can you believe it, after round 1, 0 and 2. Lucky enough to be 0 and 2. And it's St Kilda and Brisbane, who are both tipped to have rather successful seasons. So we might look at their start of the year and just sort of analyse and take stock there. For the Saints, it's now a 13-point loss to the D's. Comes after the 12-point loss to the Pies in opening round. A team that spent a lot of money on getting more players into the, or more A-grade talent into the club in the off-season. Are we worried about a 0 and 2 start from a team that didn't make finals last year?
I think the footy fraternity probably is because everyone seemed to have the Saints as a certain finalist this year. Some people had them as the biggest riser, top 4 flag contender, outside flag contender as well. I said I wasn't trying to be a hater or controversial in any way. I said on our first podcast, I didn't quite understand all of the love for St Kilda. I get Naz is a great player. He's had a little bit of a slowish start to the year given all the hype, but I'm not worried about him in the slightest. But the club as a whole, I mean, is Tom de Koning and Liam Ryan and Sam Flanders and some of these pieces that they've brought in really enough to take them from what they were last year? And I think we really forget.
I think they've improved on paper.
They've improved on paper, but so have 5, 6, 7 other clubs in that middle bracket of the ladder.
That's fair.
And I think we forget what their record was last year in those tight games. 5 and 1 in those games decided by 9 points or fewer. That is if that's 3 and 3 or 2 and 4. They're a bottom 4 side last year, and Tom de Koning is not changing that, nor is Jack Silvani or any of these guys coming in. The question I have for you is that, Christian, is the way they're playing, given what you just were talking about before, is the way they're playing from what we've seen early going to stack up in 2026?
Yeah, so, it's a hard one to say. They've been very open and being well at possessing the ball. It was two different games against Collingwood and Melbourne. Collingwood took really, really high marks and took the heat out of the game, whereas Melbourne sort of went with St Kilda and both of them tried to go at each other, and St Kilda just fell out short in that one. But they're third for disposals per, very simple stats to use here. Third for disposals per game, 14th for scoring per inside 50, and 14th for defending their back 50. So we always talk about the bookends. There seems to be a good system. They're able to hold on to the ball.
Their efficiencies.
But exactly their efficiency through the midfield and moving the ball from end to end. They're actually 6th best at going from D50 to inside 50. So that clean movement. It's the final connection piece in their offensive forward line that's really struggled. And we saw against Collingwood, they only gave up 40 inside 50s to Collingwood.
Yep.
But Collingwood, who now after round 1, everyone's talking about how sort of how much they're going to struggle in their front half and how much their key forwards are struggling. They were able to kick a winning score against St Kilda from just 40 entries. So that's the ones to watch for me for St Kilda. Their game style, game plan seems to be good. It's just the talent at either end. Can they stop scores? Which, Jack Silvani's playing in the back line, but you're the same.
Is it a worry that you've had 2 games and 2 very different style of game? Wouldn't you be trying to get the games on
they've played their way. It's what the opposition have done. Yeah,
in both games?
I think St Kilda have played similar way in both games. It was what Collingwood were just so patient with the ball and took those 154 marks and really took the heat out of it. Whereas, as I said, Melbourne just.
But that smacks to me that Collingwood was dictating the play, and that St Kilda might not be getting the most out of what they want to get out of a game.
Yeah.
That's probably the concern that I have.
Yeah.
Is if you're trying to be a top 4 contender, you need to be influencing the play and saying, well, actually, I want you to play like this, as in I want the opposition to play like this.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't seem like they did.
I still think St Kilda had some wins, and we spoke about after round 0, the plus 15 inside 50s and owning territory. That's one half of it, and it was just that connection piece, going forward. So Yeah, I'm not advocating saying St Kilda is, a dominant team, but I think those two losses sort of show that they've got something to work with, but it's can they kick the score that they need to kick, and can they defend at that final 30 to 40 metres out from goal?
Yeah, so, I mean, look, ahead for the Saints, you've got the Giants away, and then you've got the Lions at home. So another 2 games, you're staring down the barrel potentially, especially if you're losing to teams that are around your mark.
Could very, very, very easily be 0-4. And then people would start questioning, why did we think this side was going to be so good? I don't know. I was a little surprised with how high everyone seemed to have St Kilda. And for the record, I actually really liked the approach that they took in the off-season, because I think they wanted to prove to the fan base, they wanted to prove to Wanganeen Millera that they are trying to do something. They are trying to build a club. And I think they've gone about it the right way, in a proactive, positive way. But I think it's the media and the fans that have just been like, well, they're all of a sudden now contenders. No, they're not. They were not even close last year. And what they've brought in this year is a step in the right direction, no doubt. But they're still several years away, I think, from being a legitimate top-tier side. And maybe that comment will look silly in 2 or 3 months when they've won 10 straight. But I don't think so. I still think they have a lot of areas to improve on the Saints.
The other 0-2 teams, so the Lions, they lost to Sydney, lost to the Dogs in opening round, and now have lost to the Swans. Sydney have this tendency, though, to sort of have withering bursts of footy, and they did it early against the Lions, and the Lions were just unable to keep up. The caveat, I guess, about the Lions and why I'm not worried is the outs just from this weekend alone.
Well,
so you look at these. So Gardner suspended for 1 week. Hugh McCluggage injured. Logan Morris was pulled out. Harris Andrews obviously suspended, and Zach Bailey. Those are 5 of your first 10 or 15 selected.
Yeah, and that almost answers the question why you can't be too worried about this club.
The Dogs look like a good team, after 2 of their games. So you kind of look at that first opening round against the Dogs up at the Gabba, and you go, well, no shame in losing to a good team. No. Swans obviously a pretty good team as well, and you're outs. I don't think that that's a concern, and we've seen from the Lions as well. 2024 they started 0-3. They were 2-5 as well, and they came back and won the flag. Yep, they had a better start last year, but they've been able to overcome adversity, and I think that this is just another step on their journey. And I'm less worried about them than what the 0-2 scoreline or win-loss record suggests. Yeah,
I don't think there's much more to add. I was going to go back to 2024. They proved they could win it from outside the top 4. They started very slowly, and even last year they had periods throughout the year where they just sort of fell off a bit, had patches where they didn't look quite as dominant. The Lions have proven in both the this current era that we're in and going back to the start of the century, both times they haven't needed to be the most dominant team throughout the home and away season. They've been able to find their best throughout the year and going into the final series. So I don't think anyone's worried about Brisbane in any way. The injuries alone are enough as a reason why they may have struggled. Anything from the Lions that suggests we should be worried, or are you sort of on
the numbers that stick out is they scored the fewest points from forward half and 16th for points conceded from the opposition's forward half. So they're not scoring much from their forward half. That's a lot to do with personnel. That's your setup. That's your the wall and locking the ball in your forward half. 17th for the opposition being able to go from defensive mid to goal. So that's the big zone that we talk about, that rebound half back. Yep. Both teams, both Bulldogs and Sydney, who are 2 great teams, have been able to cut Brisbane up from that zone alone. But then I go back to, obviously making the last 3 grand finals. 2023, after round 6, they were the worst scoring team going inside 50, converting inside 50 into a score. 17th for contested possession differential. 2024, very similar, second last for scoring per inside 50. And last year, I was just having a look if they were sort of down. But we've seen, as you just said, that the first 5 or 6 rounds for Brisbane, they seem to just get by. And they always seem to fix things pretty quickly. So, no concerns. There is the numbers that that are on watch at the moment. But they're proven time and time again, especially Chris Fagan, and they've got a bye this week. I'm sure they'll be very, very quick to change things up.
So coming out of that game, you wouldn't have been terribly concerned if you were a Sydney fan, 2-0, but we've just learned as well that Errol Gulden, popped his shoulder out during that match, went off, and we weren't sure if that was going to be serious or not. It has now been confirmed that they're going to put him in for surgery to fix it. Yeah, so 4 months minimum that he's going to miss, which is obviously a massive chunk of the season and tough blow, considering he missed a massive chunk of last season too. Yeah. Hard to say. Most important player. They seem to be a completely different side when he's playing versus when he's not. Well, you got the stats, Christian, on it's very sort of surface level stuff, but
13 games he's missed. There's only 5 in 2021 and 13 last season, so he's usually there.
18 games.
18 games missed. So yeah, usually there, for all of 2022, all of 23 and 24. They're 8 and 10 in the games that he's missed, which is 44% win rate. 67% win rate when he's played, so plus 22, 23%. So yeah, a little bit in that.
The positive side of it is I do like Sydney's decision or his and Sydney's decision to undergo surgery. I think we've seen players try. I think Josh Dunkley might have tried to play through it a couple of years ago when he was at the Bulldogs, and we've seen other players try and play through it, and they keep popping out, and it never gets better. I think we're so early in the year. Yeah. Sydney, I know Sydney struggled without him last year.
2 wins banked already.
2 wins banked, but Sydney's a better team this year than they were last year. They've got a better fixture this year than they had last year. And I think that they can get themselves into a strong enough position for him to come back, find form, and then attack the finals. You don't want to play him for the next 8 weeks. It gets worse, and then you have a setback with the surgery, and all of a sudden he's out for the year.
Yeah, or it pops out again more seriously, does some sort of muscle damage or something like that, or ligament damage.
It's a massive blow, and it sucks for him because he missed a huge part of last year as well. But I think it may be... Sometimes you need luck with the timing of injuries, because every club's going to have injuries. You're never going to have a clean bill of health all year. And I think maybe having something like this at the start of the year does help them in the back end. So... Look, hopefully he can. It's a successful surgery, and we see him out there sooner rather than later. But yeah, tough loss for the Swans.
Big time. Another 2-0 team, the Western Bulldogs, a massive team to watch after 2 rounds now. So we were a bit unsure about their prospects this year, having been basically the best team to have ever missed finals last year, and their percentage of 137 or whatever it was in 14
It's a bit like
years.
Adelaide the previous year, where it was like the best ever team to finish in the bottom 4. Yeah. It's like those kind of things. Yeah, you probably want to look out for them the following year.
So Rowan Connolly was sort of like, maybe this is the year, but he was backing them to fall. Other players, people were saying, well, this is finally the year they're going to work out the tweaks defensively and all this kind of stuff. But they are a massive team to watch. So score sources was interesting for us last week, Christian. We mentioned this, that they were scoring prolifically from kick-ins, which is extremely rare to do. But as this week, especially in the first half, they really seemed to flex against the Giants from forward 50 stoppage. So it seems like one of the best attacking teams in the league has just gotten even better and has more tricks up its sleeve to just score more than the opposition.
Yeah, so... 60% of their score this year has come from kick-ins or clearances. So 2 parts of the game where you almost call them bonus points. That if you can score from those 2 sources consistently, then it's really hard to do. So the one that I do put a watch on the Bulldogs, because then the one other score source that they're missing is obviously the scores from turnover. So there's 40% of their overall score in their first 2 games have come from turnover, the lowest percentage of any team in the competition. So
but that just seems like an opportunity to me.
It is. It's just something to watch. After 2 games, I don't think it's panic stations yet, but sort of looking at the last 10 years and looking at top 4 teams,
yes,
no team has finished in the top 4 scoring less than 50% of their overall score from turnover, because we know turnover is such a big part of the game. Yes. Footy is changing this year a little bit.
Can I flip it really quickly? I don't know if you've got these numbers in front of you. I know that the percentage is lower, but that's because there are these unusually high percentages from other score sources like kick-ins and clearance. Is the overall actual score that they've scored within that kind of what the average of what an AFL team might be, like the actual number of points scored?
I haven't got the actual number. The other way you look at it is what you're talking about from opportunity. Yep. So when you intercept the ball from the opposition, how well do you turn that turnover into a score? Compared to when when they lose possession of the ball, how well is the opposition turning into a score? So it's very small numbers and very minimal margin here, but Bulldogs are scoring from 22.1% of their turnover opportunities. So. Okay. That's them winning the ball back and being able to put it into a score. The opposition is scoring from 22.7% of the Bulldogs' turnovers. So the opposition is slightly better at 0.06%. Going back to the last 40 top 4 teams again, so going back to the last 10 years and looking at top 4 teams, 39 of those 40 teams have all finished in the positive of that stat. So there's only one, GWS, who finished 4th in 2024, they were negative 1%, so they were less likely to score from turnover. So it's just the number I'm looking at the moment, just to say, well, same as Brisbane, most teams, they'll have an early season bye, Bulldogs, because they did round 0. I think their bye is coming up in 2 weeks' time. They'll take stock and have a look at a few numbers and think, how's it going? Yes, there is offensively, they're a powerhouse and they're going to outscore everyone, but it's that turnover game that always creeps in, and in finals.
Well, if they're
especially.
going to outscore everyone, then there's no issues at all.
Well, yeah, they've just got to keep that up.
Do you think it's going to? Do you think by the time we've hit that bye, or by the time they've played maybe 5 games, do you think that these numbers will sort of even out a little bit more?
I won't make a call on that. I'll be saying in 5 weeks' time, if they haven't evened out, then I'll have worries with Bulldogs.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they can fix it, but it's the number I'll be watching. That if we get to round 13 and they're still at 44% of scores from turnover and they're sitting first or second on the ladder, I will still make the call that finals will come, turnover footy will happen. That's when they'll,
But is it more because it's unsustainable?
Yeah,
or because we haven't seen a team do it before?
That's what we always argue in the office. It's sustainability versus history.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it before, so therefore
Premiership
it seems to
standards
be
are
unsustainable.
what they are.
But there's no reason to say
devil's advocate says, well, we've never seen Sam Darcy play in the same team as Bontempelli, who's played in the same team as Lockie J. So it's no two teams are alike. So some team can buck the trend. But yeah, it's just, as I said, just to keep everyone as a level head. If I was a Bulldog, if I was working in the Bulldogs football department and they got to the bye, this would be the one number I'd be flagging and saying, are we concerned about this? Do we need to do anything of it? Because at the moment especially the 5 goals from kick-ins against Brisbane, that's almost playing perfect footy. I don't know how often you can play that across the season.
If you want to play perfect footy, you want to play it against the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, but certainly worse issues to have after a couple of games.
Defensively was kind of their knock last year. They've been able to sort of tweak that as well and just improve there slightly.
So far, the 6th hardest to score against from the back 50, which you just got to be top 6 in that stat, which they weren't quite often last year. 6 for points against 4th hardest for scoring per inside 50. As I said, number 1 from stoppage differential, 8th from turnover differential. So we talk about top 6 needing to be where you want to be.
Yeah.
It's not a long way off. It's only 2 rankings away. It's just,
Caveat being, it's only 2 games. I understand. I can hear everyone at home
Getting ahead of
yelling at their radios.
Getting ahead of yourselves.
Yeah, understood. Jake, let me know if you're getting ahead of yourself with the answer to this one. Justin Longmuir, after the loss to Geelong the weekend, speaking of starting well, the Dockers looked like they were in control of that match and then fell a bit flat towards the end of it. He was very, very critical of the opening round format and the way that the AFL has introduced it, basically saying, this is quote, I think anyone who's been around football would realise this is an advantage, and that's teams playing in opening round and then playing a team that they didn't play in opening round the next week. He said, we should all start the season the same way. There should be no competitive advantage in terms of having played a game before they play another team. I can't believe the sort of split opinions about this. I think this is just the most... Doesn't that make sense?
Well, we are not at... I don't believe we're at the justified segment yet, but I think those...
Slap a justified
I think those comments are 100% justified. Don't get me wrong. I like the fact that the AFL has experimented with some new initiatives and try different things. They should, and they should be commended for doing that. But the problem is the league can never fall on its sword and admit that something's wrong. It just has to persist and say, yep, this works. Even though there's signs there that telling us that it's not working and they don't think it's sustainable. No, I agree 100% with Justin Longmuir. Every club should play from round 1, not just, or opening round 1, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Whatever you want.
Yeah. It's not just from a fairness and equality point of view, which is paramount and should be the number one thing, but just from the whole league fan point of view of you wait all off-season for footy to come around and 10 teams or 8 teams aren't playing first week.
In rounds 3 to 4, you got
and
teams
then
on
you're buys straight away. I think do whatever you want. If you want to muck around with playing games in New South Wales or Queensland or wherever, China, I don't care. Play them wherever you want. But the first 2 rounds at least have to be everyone playing.
I'm okay with how it's set. It's just that round 1, you can't have a team that hasn't played round 0. It's not that hard. There was 10 teams that played round 1. There was 5 games. 5 of those games in opening round they played. In round 1, those 10 teams should have played the same 5 games. That's the only issue for me. I don't care about early season buys. I don't care about half the team starting one week and the other.
Because it is an advantage.
We flagged it, and to go down to GMHBA Stadium is hard enough. To go down to GMHBA Stadium and play against a Harden Geelong, that one game does it. People laugh at it, but it does. It's surely.
Okay,
the Nick Dacos example that you get from last year.
It's not a sport where we have 10 pre-season games where one regular season game's like, there's basically no pre-season. Like we see pre-season, it's over like that. So it is an unfair advantage for teams to be able to play a game. And it's like you made the point. Well, Freo, they ran out of gas. Maybe. Well, yeah, because they're not they might not be match fit. And that's when I said about Nick Dacos. Everyone was worried about him last year after one game. Looked like he was out of breath, and then by the next week, he looked completely back to normal. So one game can make a major difference. And I think he's well and truly within his rights. I mean, it always looks a little bit dodgy when you're complaining after a loss.
Yeah.
But I think it's fair enough. And I think if you'd asked him before the game, I think he would have said the same thing.
So the record for teams in round one who played in opening round since it became a thing in 2024, and thanks to Fox Footy for doing this legwork for us, 10-4. Which kind of looks intense, but when you look at the favourite with the bookies at that time, the favourites are 11-3. So it's actually not that far off in terms of whether, like, you look at some of the games on the weekend. Yes, sure, Hawthorn played, but they played Essendon. They were probably always going to win that game. Gold Coast played West Coast, probably always going to win that game regardless.
I understand what you're saying, but I think that's irrelevant. I think it shouldn't matter what the bookies say, who's more likely to win or not. The fact is, Team A having already played and Team B having not played, it's an advantage for Team A. And I don't think we can have that be the case. It does. If we get to the middle of the year and one team played 12 games, another played 13, that's a wash. It doesn't mean anything. But for the first round, considering everything that we've just spoken about, the very, very short to non-existent pre-season, it's a massive advantage to be playing a game before your second round opposition has.
I think your point about the league being unable to fall on its sword is really important, and more so in the next 12 months, because the AFL's got a big problem coming up, and that's the 150th anniversary test at the MCG in the middle of March.
They want to start on early on this.
They want to start the season in early March for opening round or whatever. Yeah. But suddenly you've got this logjam where you go, well, that might be round 2. So do you do an opening round spectacular in Queensland and New South Wales in round 2 instead? Do you have the drop-in pitch come in and you play an opening round at the MCG? It's just so complicated. The fixture is hard enough to do on its own without making further concessions on top of marquee blockbuster games that you've got to squeeze in and bloody return games and derbies and all other shit like this. Well, it is too hard to do it. Just fall on your sword. Have an opening round where everyone plays and call it round 1.
Can you keep going? This is brilliant. I'm ready.
Honestly.
No, but I'm with you, and I think it's funny that this whole concept of opening round was brought in because they wanted to shine the spotlight on New South Wales and Queensland football, which is great.
Still have the Gabba open on Thursday night. Have the Suns host on Friday night.
Why are we now then? We'll just throw in a Collingwood St Kilda MCG.
You know why? Because we blasted them last year for not having something on Labor Day Monday, or for the Labor Day Monday, the night before. This is what I'm saying. It is too damn hard. You can admit defeat and say, look, we're just going to optimise the fixture as best we can. We're still going to shine a light on Queensland and New South Wales in the marquee slots. But, Carlton Richmond can be Sunday 3:20.
Here's Ian shine a light on them. Put them on Friday night or Saturday night. Put them in the marquee slots. I remember we spoke about this when opening round was first conceived as an idea. And it was like, you want to shine the light on Gold Coast? You've literally never given them a Friday night game. So that's just crap.
Yes.
Anyway, well, as you can tell, we're pretty passionate about this topic.
I just love footy. I just want to love footy. I just want footy to be the best game it can be.
We do just love the game.
I'm starting to spiral here. We haven't touched on Scott Pendlebury, so we'll fight his charge. And by the time you listen to this, you may already know whether he got off his charge. But basically, his high bump on Josh Worrell. Josh Worrell played the rest of the game out, but he was slapped with a ban because it was, I wrote it down somewhere, medium, where's my bloody, here we are. Careless conduct, medium impact, and high contact. So I got him high. The impact was medium and careless conduct. I think they're going to try and argue that it goes down to low so that he gets off.
Yeah, and I think he will get off.
I can't believe in the immediate PR response from Pendlebury himself.
Very
and
unique
then obviously
situation.
regurgitated through the media, and we are part of the media, understand that, about how he has such an exemplary record, and it's the first time he's been suspended in his 427-game career, and that should count for something.
So there's two parts to this. The first is, you're one of the greatest players of all time. Don't care what your record is if you hit someone high or trip someone or punch someone. I don't care.
Which he has done all of those things.
And that's the second part, where everyone talks about this exemplary record, but you brought it up this morning. If you don't even have to look back 20 years. You look at the last 3. What was it?
4 years, yeah. 3.5. So rough conduct 2022, Sam Powell-Pepper. $3,000 fine, down to $2,000 with an early plea because he's a good bloke. No, I can't say good bloke. It's actually the exemplary record defence, not the good bloke defence.
Same thing.
Not since Basher Hooley back in 20, whatever that was.
Prime Minister.
2024, striking on Lachie Neale. You remember that one?
I do remember that one.
That was the gut punch.
Yeah.
That was in opening round.
Yeah.
I think. He got a $37.50 fine down to $2,500 with an early plea because he had an exemplary record. No, it's just the early plea. 2024, tripping Harley Reid. 2024, careless contact with an umpire. That's a bit,
And now this one. So is that 5? So is it 5 in That's
I
a poor
remember
record. Am I wrong?
I remember talking about this Lockie Neal striking thing. We had a chat about this, and we actually put a video up on site because it was quite passionate. If anything, if you've played 427 games, you are like
You should be held to a higher
model.
standard.
You are the role model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had 400 games to know what to do. Sorry, you're getting a 5-game suspension.
After all that, he's going to get off, and I think he should get off.
But not for
not
the
for
record.
the reason, and the way that he just jumped into like PR defense of himself, and the club did, and all the media sort of jumped.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre. But
Yeah.
I mean, Worrell was fine. It looked like he was bracing. It happened pretty quickly. Those are the act was not bad. We talk about the action and the outcome and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't seem all that.
Yeah, I'm not bothered if he's playing the next game for the Pies. It's more, exactly what you said. This whole idea that he should be exonerated because he's got a clean record when you don't actually have to look that far back to realise it doesn't. And it doesn't. You don't have to be suspended. Like if you're fined every week, like Zach Butters, everyone says Zach Butters has a terrible record.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's just getting fines every week. What's the difference?
Well, you heard it here first. Jake Michaels thinks Scott Pendlebury's a sniper. So. We should touch on the Roos and the Ds as well. Two maybe surprise winners from the weekend, Christian. Anything to be excited about? I know that we're only talking about a sample size of one game, which is why we talked about these.
That doesn't even count as a sample size. That's just nothing.
Anything from their wins, the 46-point win over the Port for North in particular was great fun to watch.
Yeah, North sort of most points from forward half intercept. So we talk about just wanting to see identities from teams, and we've always struggled with North Melbourne. They did a little bit around the clearance and were getting better at the contest last year, but not good enough. They had no forward half or back half game that they were sort of concentrating on. So good start that they were number one for points from forward half, but only 40th for defensive half points for the round. So when they had to come from the back line and sort of move the ball, they were very, very conservative. So almost the complete opposite to what we talk about with the speed of ball movement and being aggressive with the ball. Third lowest metres gained per disposal, one of the least aggressive teams off turnover from the back half. Their metres gained from handball, which is what Gold Coast and Sydney are doing really, really well, was negative 30 metres. So a lot of that,
total over the game.
Yeah, negative 30 metres total gain from handball across the game, so a lot of sideways and backwards handball. So a lot of that, I think, is numbers rolling back, so really sort of flooding the defence, and then when they do come forward, being smart with the ball and sort of going, well, we can't just kick it long down the line because we don't have representation there.
So it seems like they're being more methodical out of the back half,
Yeah.
but a bit more, we'll move the ball quickly if we intercept it in the front half.
And Port's pressure number it was low. It wasn't, I mean, I've tried to work out if it was one of their top 10 lowest games in the last 3 or 4 years. It didn't sort of come up in that sort of category, but I think that helped them as well. That the lack of pressure from Port Adelaide allowed North Melbourne to hit their targets coming out of the back line as often as they want. We're able to find the short target. 107 uncontested marks for North Melbourne, which is their equal 5th most since 2022. They were 4th last for uncontested marks last year. So a lot of positives in terms of North Melbourne sort of getting the ball and having a real identifiable game style with it. Whether that opposition or lack of opposition helped them, and whether they can put that up against other teams will be the one to watch.
You were pretty bullish on Port at the start of the year.
That effort. I mean, I just looked at them and thought there was so much they did right under Ken that they probably just needed to refresh. They didn't need to rebuild. Couple of what they did in the preseason seemed to be that Josh Carr was on the right track. That wasn't a great start for him at all. There was nothing that they did well under Ken Hinkley that they showed in that game yesterday. So that was really, really disappointing. So as I said, North. The good thing with them, there's some numbers here that sort of go buck the trend a little bit, but for them it's good signs to see that if they can keep up this high uncontested mark style, if they can keep up this high forward press game where they can get a lot of scores from forward half intercepts, at least it gives them an identity that you can go back and sort of hang your hat on. Melbourne, simple. Like Van Rooyen kicking career high 6 goals after almost looking done and finished last year. He just didn't look interested in footy.
It's this young key forwards take time. We say it time and time again. Aaron Cadman had a breakout, a few weeks last year. It showed you the glimpse. It's like these guys take time. They're big.
So third most points for them scored overall since 2024. Third most points from back half as well since 2024. So the dynamic sort of play from Melbourne that we haven't seen for probably 2 or 3 years, probably going back to 2021 when they won the premiership. So that was, for me, just the way they were, the dare and the movement of the ball and their ability to kick a score is the first big
So
tip.
Melbourne's been the team over the last couple of years we've compared to Carlton a lot with the
Pressure
way that
contest.
they were playing under Simon Goodwin. Michael Voss, very similar game plans and game styles. Melbourne now, from what you've seen, clearly looking to go in a different direction than the direction that football's gone.
It's That's where football's going. I mean, and it probably forced their hand a little bit. They don't have Oliver, Petrarca, Viney. None of those were at their centre bounces yesterday. So that's the midfield that were the contested beast, and sort of that was their style. Now you've got Windsor rolling through there. Cozzy Pickett getting a lot more game time. Even guys like Sharp that came off the bench. Tholstrup, I know he was doing a tagging role, but he does have that outside run, and he sort of gave them a few options coming out. So it's also been driven by the personnel that they now have on their list, that they're probably forced to play a more outside style.
Keep an eye on those two teams next time around. Is the hype justified or is it hyperbole? Jake, you sort of mentioned it before, but it's time for our favourite segment.
It is time for our favourite segment, and I've got one for you. Fully ticketed AFL games should be reserved for the biggest occasions like finals, Anzac Day, and King's birthday only.
Yes, justified 100%. I hated seeing crowds of 71 and 73,000 on Thursday and Friday night in round one that were fully ticketed events. That means that the ground is only 7/10 full. More than a quarter of the seats were empty, and the AFL decided that we need to fully ticket these, and that gives clubs a license to charge, quite frankly, too much money for paying members who have already bought a membership to reserve a seat. You could not walk in with a general admission membership. You couldn't walk. So the clubs are getting more money. The AFL had made this decision too long ago. I would much rather have...
Why are they making the decision so early?
I think they must have gotten scared from some earlier instance where, players, fans might have been locked out, or there was too much chaos with, getting in and gates were over, whatever it might be. I would much rather see lockouts if that's what it takes. In the MCC, in the AFL, in general admission, I would much rather see lockouts of fans that complain when they rock up at 7:30, hoping to get a seat, as in it's full, than have you charge the rank and file, who pay a lot of money for memberships year in, year out.
What's the point of the membership if you're going to have to be stung with an extra...
Well, you might as well.
Full family, you're paying an extra $200, $300 for your family to go.
It could be, yeah. Depending on where you want to upgrade to, it can easily get into the hundreds for a family. So I think it's disingenuous from the AFL to do this. I think they're a bit of overreach. I think they just need to pare it back and say, look, we'll just see. We get a couple of big crowds and then people start grumbling. Maybe you revisit it, but they went far too early, and it was a bad look. Having crowds like that, which when they know they can get 10, 15,000 more. 70,000 is not a bad crowd. Let me put that out there.
But it should have been a lot more.
It could have been more. More people at the footy is better.
You would be filthy if you were someone who perhaps had to reconsider going because of the additional cost if you were going with a family.
That's not cheap. Parking's up this year from 10 to 15.
I noticed that this year at the tennis there. That's a pretty sharp rise. But if you're sitting on the couch watching and you're seeing all these spare
seats,
and you think,
I could have just scanned my membership. Yeah,
What's the point of a membership? I think you dropped the S-bomb earlier, so I don't think we're allowed to have two on the same show. So I'll just say it's crap. It is really crap from the AFL, and they should be better with this. And like I said, I don't know why they're making these decisions so far out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like Anzac Day, fine, understand it, but they're also charging a lot of money for those fans to upgrade as well.
I think Anzac Day is a little different. Yeah. But for your standard Friday night game or whatever, no, you shouldn't be doing that.
Not had the greatest start to his 2026, Andrew Dillon, has he?
Or his 2025, or his 2024?
Christian, Tom Lynch may have had a stinker, kicking 2-7 against the Blues, but it's Patrick Cripps who's the worst shot for goal in the AFL.
So going back to Paddy Cripps, so I looked at sort of the last 5 or 6 years and then noticed that he was sort of mid-table, broke it down year by year. 2024... broke the record for Brownlow votes and all that. 20th best shot at goal of that year. So
in the league?
So we talk about expected points. When he was taking a shot, he scored more points than he was expected.
I told you earlier, he had a period where he looked like...
a dick.
Yeah.
Coming down from 2025 to 2026, he's now negative 36 points on expected score, which is the third worst in the competition. So out of all players...
Third worst in the competition?
All players in that
So it's hyperbole by 2 players?
Huh? Yeah, exactly. So
who are the 2 below him?
I haven't listed it. I could probably have a quick look, but I'll just give you the other
stats.
We've got to look here. So that's total points. If you look at expected accuracy, so that's exactly, he's scored at 50%, but he should have been scoring at 65% or however it is. He's negative 15%. So he's the 8th worst of all players with at least 10 shots. Take it up to 40 shots. You've got 86 players that have had at least 40 shots in the last 2 years, and that's when he becomes the worst player. So set shot, looking at the negative 36 points from scoreboard impact, negative 6 from set shots, and the other negative 30 from general play. So he does miss a lot on the run as well. But I remember...
But that's factored into the expected score, right?
Yeah. So it's just having a look at both ways, Is he just missing set shots or are you missing both?
He's missing everything.
He's probably missing more general than set shots. But we spoke about it Must have been in 2023 because he had such a good 2024 season. But at the end of 2023, he looked frozen in front. He would take a mark in front of goal and you could see it in his eyes that he would just
didn't want to have a shot.
Didn't want to have a shot. Would be trying to pass it. Whether he's got, he looked pretty confident in both of his set shots against Richmond the other night and shanked both of them. It's only a matter of time till 3 or 4 weeks down the track where it keeps happening. Doesn't become mental and sort of.
Can't disagree more. His confidence in front of goal on Thursday night looked awful.
Well, he took. Compared to 2023, where he didn't even look like he wanted to take them. I think these ones he thought, well, I've got to go back and have this shot.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like.
Can you find those two plays, please? Because I've got something to say about this. I would much rather take that shot from 30 out directly in front than him. If he's kicking for my life, I'm saying, Paddy, put the ball down. I'll do it.
You'd rather take a shot from 30 out directly in front for your life
than
Patrick
absolutely.
Cripps.
I'd rather have my life in my hands regardless.
I should have listed these players because second last is Tom Lynch, who you started the question off. So he's negative 43 points. Whether that was
since when? Sorry.
This is the last two. So since the start of 2025,
Tom.
Patrick Cripps has left. He's 36 points below expected. Having a look at all shots now, and then 43 points below is Tom Lynch, and Charlie Cameron, who's negative 47%.
Yeah, he had a bit of a down.
He's also the worst. He's the worst one of set shots
But
as well.
those notably are forwards.
Yeah, they are going to kick you 4 or 5 some weeks, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Interesting stuff. Jake, last one for you before we wrap things up. Damien Hardwick was right to publicly call out Mac Andrew in his press conference after the win over West Coast, after Andrew gave away another 50-metre penalty for an undisciplined act.
Justified. Yeah, I think I liked it. I like seeing players call out. Coaches calling out their players from time to time, and he's not wrong. Like, it's stupid. It's undisciplined, and we've seen it
throwing a first game into the ground after he wins.
No need for it. I always hate that stuff anyway. But he's done it a few times. Last year he was a bit of a culprit. This year in pre-season, in opening round,
a few 50s.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means as well? I don't know. You might have missed this, but it means he owes a few teammates some meat trays.
Meat trays,
Did you not see this?
I didn't see the meat trays, no. But I do know that a lot of clubs generally have...
So instead of a fine system where, if you do something silly or you do something undisciplined or you post something on Instagram...
So what's he buying them?
A meat tray.
For every player?
Each player?
No, so they raffle it. So basically, they do like one of those big spinning wheel kind of things, but it's like a horse race.
So can he win the meat tray?
No, he can't win his own meat tray.
That's good.
Yeah, so he might be buying a few meat trays, old Mac.
I will say, I'll be the old man here and say, I did watch Damien Hardwick play across his career, and if there's any... and he said it himself as well. He said it himself. Like, if I was Mac Andrew, if there's one player I was actually going to listen to say, pull your head in, you're being a bit of a jerk, it's Damien Hardwick,
being a bit of a jerk.
Who struggled with that early in his career, and he had to turn it around. He became a fine, I'm sure he made all Australians and premiership player and all that. And he said it himself. He said, I'm sure if you go back and watch my tape, there was a lot of mistakes I made early in the year. So he can really relate to he should be able to relate to Mac Andrew and sort of show that I played as hot-tempered as you did, but I had to rein it in eventually.
Yeah. And so maybe that works better than doing it privately. Maybe in the press conference it's like, well, he'll hear that and people know.
Yeah, I'm sure he has tried it. I'm sure he would have went privately before going straight. I'm sure that's not the first time Mac Andrews heard that coming out of that press conference.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there was any sort of coach in the league, might have been, even the Scott brothers might have been a little bit similar. But Hardwick was one that really struggled with ill discipline early in his career, and he turned it around. So
good stuff. Red Time's back. Coxie and JB on a Wednesday night. You can catch that on YouTube. Good to see and hear from Coxie. Get him in. Get him in.
Get him in, as in get him here.
Get him in. Get him in the office again. Get him in the team. Get him week to week. Get him in the best 23 every week at Freo.
Fair enough.
No, but that's good stuff. So they started last week. Plenty to discuss with him this week as well. There might be a bit more with that Justin Longmuir stuff. We'll have to keep it on.
Also, I was just thinking, you said before we started that you asked if I listened last week when I was away. I did not, much to your dismay, but you said you left a little surprise in there for me. So I'm going to have to go and... got a lot of things to do after we stop here. I've got to research about 5 things and then listen to you guys from last week.
And 6 points, your column back this week on Wednesday, espn.com.au/AFL if you want to catch that as well.
Yeah, lots this week. We'll write about a few things we spoke about today as well as some other stuff. And yeah, there's heaps coming.
Plenty happening. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will speak to you in the next episode.